So the next work that we are going to talk about now is about our effort to trying to use machine learning to predict the complexity of a lap quality procedure, and inside it, trying to predict a Parkland grading scale. Not working. Okay, disclosures are the same. Move on. Okay, so as all of you know, lap quality is one of the most common operating procedure in general surgery. Parkland Grading Scale, PGS, was introduced in 2018 by Madney. It's a scoring system for lap quality, which is intended to define a way to understand how complicated the cholecystitis gallbladder is. And it is determined from the image of the first view of the gallbladder after it was grasped and retracted. And it is defined as the initial view of the gallbladder. In this work, we aim to verify whether deep learning models can learn to automatically identify the PGS score of lap quality video, and furthermore, to understand if we are able, using deep learning, to assess the complexity of the entire procedure. So for those of you who are not familiar, this is the definition of the Parkland Grading Scale of PGS. It's from a scale from 1 to 5, where the primary parameter is the level of adhesions occurring on the gallbladder. Level 1 means no adhesions at all. Level 5 means that there is inability to view the gallbladder because of too many adhesions, and also some other interesting parameters like hyperemia and necrosis, perforation and necrosis in level 5, hyperemia in level 3, etc. Now, why is it important to have such a scoring system for a lap quality or other general surgeries, other procedures? First of all, if we can automate the ability to predict the Parkland grading scale or other scoring system, then we might be able to upgrade the procedure to a faculty member when a resident is doing a complex procedure. Second, similar to critical view of safety, knowing the PGS score can be additional reminder for extra care and caution. Third, in terms of documentation, we can automatically document how many complex procedure a resident has done before they complete their residency. And fourth is in terms of compensation. If we will have a specific way to calculate the complexity of a procedure, it can affect the compensation for more complex procedures. So for that, again, we developed a deep learning model which aims to identify the Parkland grading scale level of lap quality video. Again, we collected and annotated a data set of lap quality. About 800 videos were annotated and collected. The preparation stage of each lap quality video was presented to 5 surgeons from a pool of 9. Each surgeon assigned a PGS score, one PGS score for the entire preparation phase, and they were asked also to determine what was the shortest informative clip within the preparation phase that helped them determine what was the PGS score. And you can see here on the right the distribution of the annotation. And you can see here one problem that we had with the annotations is that it was very biased towards the score 3, which challenged the ability of the deep learning model to learn the PGS score. The inter-rater agreement between the annotators was 0.74. And here you can see a demonstration of the architecture of the deep learning model, really in high level. You can see here that it consists of a ResNet 50 model, which is a very popular model in computer vision. It's a deep image classification model, which receives each time a single image and tries to give a prediction. Then we used the hidden representations of the ResNet model and inserted into a temporal model, which is called long short-term memory, LSTM model, which is also very popular for temporal context, such as videos. And we inserted into this whole model 20 seconds of the preparation phase in order to try to predict what is the PGS score of a scale from 1 to 5. Now, the results that we got in this part of the model weren't that good. So the sensitivity was 61%. The sensitivity within 1 was 85%, and sensitivity within 1 means that if the deep learning model predicted a PGS score of 2, for example, but the correct PGS was 3 or 1, then we count it as correct. So that's the 85%. The inter-rater agreement on the test set between the annotators was also quite low. It was 0.75. And the main challenges that we had to train this deep learning model, the first was that it was very biased towards a score of 3, and the model didn't saw enough cases of score 4 and 5, so it was hard for them to learn those such cases. And the most hard challenging part was come from the annotators. While the annotators annotated the video, it was different than how originally PGS was defined. PGS was defined as determining the complexity of the gallbladder cholecystitis based on a single image. But the surgeons were shown the entire preparation phase. And then the procedure complexity might change over time. It might be dynamic. And this led us to try to think of a new approach to try to identify using machine learning and defining the complexity of the beginning of the procedure, which is dynamic over time. So let's take this example as a use case. Let's say that at the beginning of the procedure, at the first view of the gallbladder, there were adhesions to the neck and to the body. Now, this is enough to determine the PGS score, which is about 3 because there is adhesions on the body. But then let's say about 5 seconds, very easily, the surgeon removed the adhesions from the body, and only adhesions are left on the neck. So maybe we thought that it's a 3, but actually this was very easy to remove the adhesions. And then we move over again over time, and then we find that there is, when we focus on the gallbladder, we see that it is distented, or maybe in rare cases we see necrosis, hyperemia, and we move on and more parameters of the gallbladder appears. So what we see here that we might want, instead of defining a specific static score of 1 to 5, maybe we can over time understand what are the parameters of the gallbladder, and then from that have more insights. And this is exactly what we did. We asked the annotators again to annotate the preparation phase, but this time they were asked at each point in time to mention what are the criteria that they see that are appearing on the gallbladder, whether if it is inflammation, edema, distension, etc. And then we trained the model to predict at each point on time which of the gallbladder criteria appears. And finally, here you can see the demonstration of how this deep learning model works. So on the top left, you can see the predictions of the model over time. And at the beginning, there is no appearing of the gallbladder. Now, if this was shown as to determine PGS, maybe the PGS here was 5 because we can't even see the gallbladder. But now let's run the video. Hopefully it will run. Yeah. So now we see that when the gallbladder will be exposed, then the model will predict, oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, now we see that when the movie goes on and the gallbladder will appear here. Now we see that the model predicts necrosis, hyperemia over time. For some seconds, we see the post-aesthetic fluid. And again, hyperemia and again, post-aesthetic fluid for some seconds. And if we even go more further in the video, we see that punctuation was also predicted by the model. Yeah, puncturing, etc. And we believe that using this type of approach to predict the complexity over time might be more helpful and will bring us more insights to the entire procedure. Thank you very much.